Hi, my name is Nasir. As he just told you all, I'm a redfish farmer in Texas. My presentation, I guess, is more kind of a show and tell. Everyone pretty much knows everything there is to know about red drum, but I'll give you all an overview of the farming in Texas. So these stats are a little old, not that old, a couple of years, but I'm sure they're pretty up to date anyway. That greater than 95% of U.S. production is from Matagorda Bay, which is where my farm is. There's 4 other farms there, ranging in size from 100 to 400 acres, and all farms have their own capability of spawning and producing fingerling. This is my farm. It's one of the smaller farms. It's on 100 acres of land. So it's just all the grow-out ponds and smaller ponds for fingerling production. And the pond at the very bottom is a settling pond, so everything flows out from there. You can see the pier running off on the left side. That's my water intake. So this is the map of Texas. That's Matagorda Bay in the rectangle. It's kind of on the central coast. That's a close-up of Matagorda Bay. The farms are spread up on the north end of it. And I'll show some photos of when I caught the broodstock. They were caught down there at Port O'Connor. You see the pass for the bay right at the bottom. The U.S. market, about 5 million pounds are produced in Texas annually. This is going to vary. It might be going down because of if sales are slow, some farmers might produce a little bit less. Smaller farms sell primarily, like myself, to local markets in Texas or Louisiana. But there's also some farms sell to larger farms that have facilities for packing and et cetera. Major competitors for us in the U.S. right now is primarily from Mauritius. Although their prices has been generally higher than ours, so they really haven't been competing lately. Constraints to farming, the way we do it, outdoor ponds, of course, is land. You know, suitable land with access to brackish or salt water of adequate quality is hard to find nowadays. Of course, coastal land is being used for other purposes. You need a larger amount of land for pond production, say, versus wrasse. And of course, you know, well, there is a wrasse facility starting up in Florida now. So you need to have enough, each farm needs to have enough land for production capacity to do weekly sales. If you don't do weekly sales, you can't keep your customers. So, I mean, you know, depending on how much you want to sell each week, you have to do weekly, so you have to have a range of sizes of fish, so you continuously have them coming out. Supply currently is meeting demand. Might be a little greater than demand right now, so the market does need to be developed further. And I put COVID down there because this is like an older presentation, but that did hurt us quite a bit because all our sales are fresh for use in restaurant. Not that much going to supermarkets currently. And this is a photo of water intake. That's my water intake, that pier that you guys saw earlier. Water intake from another farm that I worked at. Challenges in red drum farming and outdoor ponds. Disease, of course, primarily amylo, also, but other gill parasites do show up. Only treatment options we have are copper sulfate, permanganate, or formalin, and that's pretty difficult to do in a outdoor pond environment to keep levels up of whatever therapeutic you're using. And of course, we can't use any antibiotics, so you have to maintain your stocking densities to maintain fish health. Harmful algal blooms are a big problem. Usually in summertime, spring, summertime, dinoflagellate, primarily Kureshy species, you know, of course, can result in 100% mortality if you don't catch it in time. The treatment options for that is, of course, just killing the dinoflagellate with copper, or burning up the toxin with permanganate. But that is definitely because you can lose whole ponds at a time, entire ponds. And weather, of course, hurricanes and freezes for the past 4 years. You know, we've had freeze event every year, 4 or 5 years. Production and spawning is just in 12-foot tanks, and it's been to spawning techniques for red drum. I believe they were first spawned at UT MSI in the 1980s, and so it's pretty much been the same technique since then. Larvae, the way the farms in Texas do it, are stocked into outdoor ponds at day 2 or 3. You know, ponds are fertilized to promote zooplankton. And that's the way it's currently still being done, although we have built an indoor hatchery at our farm just to be able to produce them during the wintertime, because outdoors you can only do it spring, summer. Those fingerling are grown out to stocker-sized fish, 1/10 of a pound to 1/4 pound, and then those are stocked into larger ponds for final grow out to 3 pounds. This is a photo when I caught my broodstock. This was at Port O'Connor. Initially, this is years ago. Now I'm spawning F1s, and soon we'll be spawning F2. And those are the first 5 or 6 fish that started my farm. That's one of them. And these are the tanks I was telling you about, spawning tanks, pretty standard, used for red drum, 3,000 gallon. Some eggs. And this is just another shot of an outdoor pond farm. I'm checking for zooplankton. Some fingerling ponds are drain harvested into kettles, like you'll see the kettle on the far end. Some farms do this, other farms you just seine them. So if you have a kettle, you know, you drain it in the kettle and scoop them out. And that's a tub of fingerling getting transferred. At this farm where I was, we were doing in indoor raceways, producing the stocker fish and then going out to ponds. These are, I wonder if my videos will work. So this is my indoor hatchery now. We're starting to do some red drum in it. We've done a couple of runs of red drum, but we want to start doing a different species also. That's primarily what it's for. How do I go to the next? Oh, there it is. These are the raceways I was telling you about. We're producing stockers in. For then, and also these types of raceways, and then you produce the 1/4 pound or 1/2 pound stocker fish, and then take it out to the pond for final production. That's just some equipment. That's a stocker-sized fish. Moving them out to the ponds. Pretty basic stuff. Photos of feeding the fish. We just use trucks and blow feed into the ponds. Most of us use aerators, Taiwanese aerators for our ponds. The harvesting, just standard pond harvesting. The fish pump them up to grade them. And the final product, this is how we sell. We harvest into an ice slurry, and then drain out the water, grade the fish if necessary, and then they're just sold on ice fresh. The 2021 freeze, so I was talking about freeze and hurricanes earlier. We've made it through some hurricanes, a couple of hurricanes since then, but that hasn't been that big of a problem other than power loss. But the freezes have hit us, and the 21 freeze was particularly bad. It was Winter Storm Uri. And total damages exceeded Hurricanes Harvey and Ike. Greater than 90% of redfish inventory was lost at the farms in Texas, including fingerling, stockers, market-sized fish, and broodstock that we might have been holding outdoors. There's some numbers on the fish loss during that freeze. We've had 3 freezes since then, but they haven't been as bad. So you can see it was pretty extensive, 5 million pounds of market-sized fish, over 3 million pounds of stockers, or I mean sub-market size. Now they're all classified as stockers. Anything from anything up to 2 pounds is classified as a stocker for ELAP purposes, and I'll talk about that. That's a USDA disaster insurance that's provided. Cold weather mitigation, so red drum are stressed below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, around 5 Celsius, and they'll start to die. Under that, they get stressed, and you'll still have some mortality, but if you get down to around 36, you'll have extensive mortality. Some farms do have thermal refuges, which are areas that are just cordoned off in the pond, and we pump in well water, which consistently comes out at 70 degrees, and the fish will come into that warmer water. During that freeze, Uri, it got cold enough because we had like 4 or 5 hard freezes in a row, like a week of freeze. So during that one, even with thermal refuges, we still lost 60 to 70% of the fish. Farms without lost 100%. So here's an example of, this is a refuge that in one of my ponds, and I just put a boom out in this one. You can also use levees, which I'll show you later. But you can see the fish congregate into that water. And these are larger harvest-sized fish. So there's an opening on the right side, and they'll come into that area which well water is being pumped into. And this is not during Uri, this is a freeze. I think this is in 22. So you can see they all come into there. And this is, the water's a little choppier because this was the first day, so the wind's blowing a little harder. But you can see the rest of the pond, and it's cordoned off with that. It's kind of, a silt boom. And there's an opening on there, but they can also go under the boom. It doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. I don't have a hard time moving. There you go. This is just another pond example of a boom in another pond, and you'll see how that one's cordoned off, and you'll see the fish congregating into the. So the water here will be like 5 to 6 Celsius, whereas the rest of the pond might be around 3. And this is an example of using a levee for the same purpose instead of the boom. We find it easier to use, these are the ponds I built at first, and we put the earthen levees in, but now I just use those booms because when you go to harvest, it's it's hard to go around those little earthen levees in the pond. Whereas the booms, we just take them out after the freeze. So we talked a little about ELAP. After that 2021 freeze, ELAP was not available for food fish, so we had to work on USDA to get it approved. We talked to our congressman, did some media campaign with it, about it, and finally it was approved for us that year. So it basically saved the industry, otherwise we would have all been out of business. Redfish also has been done in cages. This is a farm that I worked on to put in Panama. We did some redfish there along with other species of fish. Hopefully this will happen in the US waters soon, or sometime soon. This is us harvesting redfish out of those cages. They grow really fast. I mean, you have year-round warm water, and like 12 months you can get 3 to 4 pound fish. There's some pompano that we did. And that's it. This is the final being harvested, and they're usually always sold fresh on ice, and pretty much always filleted. So that's it. Oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So, like, the pictures look beautiful. Are you feeling like the
You know, that will eventually end up happening. I mean, more than likely when it becomes a better opportunity to use the land for something else, of course, that's going to be taken into consideration. I mean, farming is a hard way of life. It would be nice to just sell the land for a hefty profit, but I mean, that is happening around us, not so much on Matagorda Bay, but there are, like, for example, across from my farm, there are, you know, like second homes being built for people, so that is going to happen.
Thanks for sharing all the implications and everything.
Oh, thank you. And I forgot to mention, I just saw Todd that we're doing a project with him with, he's heading it up for genetics on our brood stock. All the farms are participating in it, providing genetic material and fingerlings for them to spawn. And there's also South Carolina and Mississippi DNR are also involved in that. So that's really cool. It's going to help us develop better strains of redfish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.